Now it's time to go ahead and take all these placeholder doors and set them up at all the doorways and get that done. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I have one door done, so I'm just going to clone that door over and over again. Alright, and here's another doorway. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to all my doorways, and I'm just going to go ahead and create those, rip out those wall pieces that I can align doors to later on, which are going to help me. So I'm going to take that polygon right there, for example, hold down Shift, pull it out to about here, and I'm going to clone it to a new object. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do it to this door as well, or that wall I should say. Pull it out a bit. It doesn't matter how much you pull it out, it doesn't have to be precise. The idea is to do this pretty quickly. Okay. I'm doing them all separately. If you notice, I'm not, selecting 3 or 4 polygons at one time and then pulling them off, ripping them off, because if I do that, they're all going to be one object. I want each one of those wall pieces to be a separate object, so this is the best way to do that. Just in case you may have been wondering why I was doing it that way. So I'll pull this one. We're going to do this for the first floor, by the way. We need to. We have doors down here as well. Just make sure that you're cloning this to a separate object and not an element, okay? And that's pretty good. We'll worry about this first floor double door hallway later on. We're not going to worry about that now. We'll worry about the entrance for the door some other time. We're not going to do that right now. Okay, so we are done with that. And I'm not going to change the colors of those objects. I know that they're there, so I really don't have any trouble identifying them. I just did that in a previous video just for illustration purposes, so it's easier for you to understand and see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to take this door that's right here. Okay, and another thing about this is very important is the flip swing and the flip hinge, which I didn't go over previously. I'll go over that right now. Okay. We have this open parameter here that's set by default to 0 degrees for the door. If we go ahead and use the spinner right there, you can see that we can interactively open and close this door. That's one of the neat things about this 3ds Max door object that you can create. You can actually open and close it interactively like this. It's very, very awesome, very useful feature. Okay, so what you want to do is make sure that your door is actually opening the correct way. For example, you want to make sure maybe your flip swing isn't like this. If you look at interior doors, they usually open into the room, not out into the hallway like this. If it does, your door installer probably installed it the wrong way. You can also flip the hinge so it opens the other way, as you can see here. So it's really up to you. There's no right way and wrong way of doing it. I just want to show you the way that I'm doing it, just because this is what I observe in the interior doors every day. Okay, so it should open into the room, into the imaginary room, which doesn't exist. Okay, and for me, I'm going to have the hinge on the left side over here. So when it opens, it pivots, or it hinges on the left side right there, as opposed to the right side. That's how I'm going to do it. And I want to make sure that all my doors are continuous and follow that same concept. Okay. So now with that out of the way, I'm going to take this door, I'm going to activate the move tool, I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm just going to move it like this to make a copy of it. And it's going to say, clone options, object, you want to copy, instance, or reference. I want to make a copy of it. You can make several copies in one shot. For the moment, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to make one copy. I'm going to hit OK. Alright, next thing I want to do is I want to rotate this door. Now, you can see the way that it's opening. See that? So to keep it consistent with the first door that I made, I'm going to rotate this. I'm going to rotate it this way like this. So basically in the positive z-axis right there. But of course I don't want to eyeball that, because if I try to eyeball it so that it's perfectly straight or parallel right here to the door frame, this isn't going to work. It's not going to be precise. So what I can do is I can use snaps. Now, there's snaps for moving objects and there's snaps for rotation. Okay, let me show you the rotation snap. Up here, you have this angle snap. Not rotation, it's called angle. I just call it rotation because I always use it with the rotation tool. Okay, it's the angle snap toggle. And if you go ahead and just click that on, when we go ahead and rotate this, you can see that it snaps. You can actually feel it and you can see it. It's snapping to about 5-degree increments. Okay, and if you right click on that snap toggle tool up there in the interface, you'll quickly open the grid and snap settings and go to the options tab right here, where you can set up the angle. If you see down here, you have this parameter for angle. It's set to 5 degrees by default. You can set that to say 10 degrees, 15 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and set it to 15 degrees. I think that'd be pretty good. Okay. Now every time I rotate this, it snaps to 15-degree increments. What I want to make sure to do is to snap it to 90 degrees. Okay. Once it's at 90 degrees, which you can see in the interface, you can then move it into position, place it wherever you need to. In my case, what I'm going to do is what I did in the previous video. I'm going to select the door, hit the Align tool, and select that little strip of wall right there. And because 3ds Max remembers your previous options, all the options that I need are going to be basically memorized. So it's going to place it at the center of the wall right there. So I'll hit OK. Alright, awesome. And I do know from previous experience that I need to move the door up a little bit, so I'll open up the transform type in tool, and I'll place this at 12 feet. Okay, and then the next thing, last but not least, is to pull it out a bit. Now this isn't going to be totally precise, but that's okay, I don't mind. I'm just going to put it, just pull it out from the doorway a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is select that strip of wall that I placed there, that I used as my align helper. And I'm going to delete it. Don't need it anymore. Now I'm going to take the house geometry, select those inside polygons right there from the little doorway strip right there. Activate the scale tool. Make sure you have selection center activated up there. And just scale that out. And just eyeball it. Use your eyes just as a guide. And I'm going to take these 2 edges I don't need, control backspace to get rid of them. Perfect. So now that doorway and door have been taken care of. Okay, so let's go back and let's just keep doing this. Now, since you saw the process already, I'm just going to move pretty quickly here. So here's this door. I'm going to use the Align tool, align it to that strip of wall. Use those options are fine. Place it at 12 feet using the transform type in tool. I'm going to pull it out a little bit from the door right there, and perfect. Okay, let me pull it out all the way just so I can see this strip of wall right there. I need to delete it. Take this door here, place it about right there. Okay, since this one's already aligned, I don't need to do anything over here, so I'll just delete that strip of wall right there. I'm going to take this door, hold down shift to clone it or copy it, and I hit OK. And what I can do here is I can basically flip all the parameters here. You can see how it opens up like this. Okay, what I can do is I can flip the hinge and flip the swing, and there we go. I'll close the door and then I'll just move it and place it. So I didn't even have to align it to that strip of wall. I was able to just place it right there, and boom, that's done. Now because I got these little wall strips right here from the doorway aligned with the blueprint, pretty close. It wasn't precise, but it was close enough. You can see I don't have to make any adjustments right there. It's already done, which saves me time and energy. Always a good thing. Control backspace to get rid of those edges we don't need. Might as well just get rid of these right now as well. So I'll do that. Okay. I'll take this door right here, and actually, you know what? I'm going to take this door here. Actually, it really doesn't matter. Take any of those doors and just make a duplicate. I'm going to rotate this one 90 degrees, so it's like so. Now this one I am going to have to align. That's no problem. Very easy to do. Use the Align tool. Select that little strip of wall right there. Hit OK. And it's gone. Let me hit undo right there to see what happened. Okay. Okay, what I have here is a triangulation error. Let me move this door out of the way. I have a triangulation error I didn't even notice before. If I select that polygon, you can see that there's a problem. The reason that happened was when I deleted the edges that were on the top right there, it caused that problem. You notice that it didn't cause that problem with the other doorways. That's because Max doesn't really know what you're doing. So in those cases, just coincidentally it worked out. In this case, it didn't. So I'll just go to triangulation up here in the graphite modeling tools, hit retriangulate, and problem is solved. I'll select the door again, hit the align tool, select that little strip of wall, hit OK, and there we go. My door is placed perfectly. Let me select the strip of wall and delete it. Let me grab my door now and pull it out a little bit, like so. That's maybe a little bit more. Now I'm just being picky. Right there is good. Now you can see that the doorway doesn't have the correct width. So I'm going to go ahead and take those polygons there. Use the scale tool, make sure that the selection center is the current mode. And I'll just scale that out like that. And you notice that the tops here of the doorways are already at a pretty good height. And that's just a coincidence. When I created those doorways and I placed the preliminary height, I just happened to get it right the first time there by coincidence. If you didn't, just come in here, grab all these top doorway pieces, and just move them up to where they look good. Okay? Alright, so those doors are pretty much done. Now let me go ahead and place some placeholder doors downstairs. So I'm going to take this door, I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of that. And let me see, let me get in here. It's a little bit hard to see what you're doing because you've got a lot of stuff in the way. Remember that you always have the ability to take polygons here that you don't really need, like all of these, for example. I don't need to be viewing these right now. And you can go to visibility and hit hide selected just to temporarily get them out of the way, which can be a huge help. Another thing that you can do is we could select the house geometry and we could turn on X-ray mode. There's a couple of ways that we can do that. With the geometry selected, right click to open up the quad menu, go to the object properties window, and right here we can turn on see-through. If we hit OK, the object becomes see-through. Now that's the long way of doing it. If you want to be able to do this very quickly and easily, just hit Alt and X on the keyboard. Doing that quickly toggles between see-through mode and regular mode. Okay, so just remember that, Alt and X on the keyboard to do that very quickly. You'll see me doing that a lot from now on. I usually use that in my standard workflow. So there we go. Okay, so there's the wall piece, and here's my door. So I'll just take my door, use the align tool, and boom, done. Okay. Now I do know that I can see here my door is elevated a little bit above the floor, which is not good, obviously. So what I'm going to do is just go into transform type tool. You can see it's 1 inch above the ground. I know it's supposed to be at 0 because that's where my floor is. It's at 0 in the z-axis. So there we go. Now it's on the floor. Now over here, let me select the house geometry and get out of see-through mode so it's a little bit easier to see this. I don't need this strip of wall anymore. Already used it. Get rid of it. You can see the door is too short for the doorway. Now I don't want to change the height of the door. That wouldn't make sense. What I need to do is change the height of the doorway right there. So that's what I'm going to do. So to do that quickly and easily, I'm going to do that for all of the doors right there, the doorways. But let me get the doors into position, and then I'll do that at the end. So I'll take this door here. I'm going to make a clone of that. Copy it. I need to rotate it 90 degrees back this way. Then I'm going to use the align tool, line it right there, hit OK. I already know that I need to place it at 0 in the z-axis, so there it is. I also know that I have to pull it out a little bit from the wall. So I'll pull it out a little bit like that. And this door over here, I didn't pull it out enough, I think. So a little bit. Again, at that point I'm being really picky. I'm going to take this door here, make a copy, rotate it 90 degrees this way. I'm going to use the align tool, line it to that strip of wall. I'm going to take that strip of wall and delete it. I'm going to take my door here, I need to pull it out of the wall a little bit like so. and I'm going to place it in the Z at 0. Okay, so my doors are placed perfectly. Now let me take this door here and move it out of the way. I need to delete that strip of wall, which I don't need anymore. And let me put this back into position. About right there is pretty good. Okay, now we can see that the doorways are too high for the doors. So what I'm going to do is pretty simple. I'm just going to come in here and let's take that polygon there, this polygon. You can see how that back face call mode is so useful. Okay, now if those polygons selected, I'm just going to visually just move them down a bit like this. If I move them down too much, they penetrate through the doors. So I'll just find a happy medium where they're hidden inside the door like that. Perfect. So now it looks great. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all these useless edges. So I'm going to get that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one right there. Hit Control and Backspace. Check and see if I have any triangulation errors. Very important. So I'll go to see-through mode. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't see any triangulation errors. So it looks like we lucked out and it worked just fine. Okay, awesome, good to go. Okay, so that's going to do it for this video, and I'm going to end it here in the next video. We're going to go ahead and work on the main double doors for the entrance of our house right here. So I'll see you in the next video.